Shawn, most people don't have the ability to change things, although they think they have. You can hire a man for so much money, he's apt to repair your roof, or it might leak, depends on his competence. So we don't have chance takers, so to speak. We don't take chances. We have technical competence. That means the ability to deal with the problems you're assigned.
But it's not technical elitism. You want to talk about that? It's not technical elitism, though.
You said it's not technical elitism.
No, it's not technical elitism. They're assigned duties. If you come into the Venus Project, they say, what is your training? Say interior design. That means designing a house with easy access with safety devices. That's what you'd be doing. Designing a house so there's no fires, no short circuits, and the kids can't stick a screwdriver into an electrical circuit. If they did, nothing would happen. In other words, you would be into what children are apt to do without training, without sufficient training. So you try to block the occurrence from happening. You don't try to treat it after it happens. Today we make laws after a man kills somebody. We make a law, thou shalt not kill. We don't do it before.
Right, or reactive instead of proactive.
Yes, exactly. Is it perfect? No, but just a lot better than the present day system. And as time goes on, it'll become shorter, better, and improve communication. In each discipline, there's no ideal discipline that you can train a person and say, that's it forever. It isn't. It undergoes change as innovation comes in.
All right, and let me move on to the next question. This one is, what are the conditions required to perform experiments in the first city to prove or refute whether the theory works or not?
The first city would take students that have studied the Venus Project, that have been trained in how to react in relation to accomplishing a given task. And if they're trained appropriately, they do the task appropriately. If they're not, they don't even get to that position.
The first city itself is actually...
Is to test the validity of the Venus Project's proposals.
We also see it as a research center, a large research center, to develop the next city more efficiently.
Test out some more construction techniques, more manufacturing techniques, more communication and media
Who to
techniques.
call if you don't know the answer. You know who to call.
And I imagine the place having massive amount of tours and showing people in and out of the city, and maybe even staying for a period of time to take classes and be orientated in a sense.
When you get in a subway train today, it's operated as a machine operator. There's a conductor, but they're being done away with. Machines are taking the place of the train operator, especially on airports today. There's nobody that operates the transportation system. It's automated. But before the train stops, it tells you, at station 2D, we have music, restaurants, etc. You're informed before you get out of the train or the plane.
And I never see anybody protesting that. I never see people protesting stoplights or stop signs. And these are all things that existed prior to them
They
being
can make
born.
recommendations, and it goes to the recommendation center, and they correspond with the person making the recommendations. They ask further questions.
Right.
And you want to eventually eliminate the stop signs and the stoplights and just have transportation that's efficient and
Well,
people don't operate it.
There's nobody accusing the local board of people of engineers that put in the plumbing throughout the city and the electrical system throughout the city of technological elitism. Nobody's accusing them of that. It's simply taking care of the necessities of life for humans, and even doing it on a much larger scale. And
naturally, if a competent person is ill, he's replaced by another competent person. No, we don't have a problem then. Because there are lots of technicians lined up for each job. And most people don't need to work. They can go to centers where they learn how to write, or they learn how to communicate better, or they teach communication, or take up any course that you feel, not so much that you feel, that the nation feels is needed.
Maybe more, not the nation, the globe.
Yes.
The world, right? Not
No
necessarily
nations.
Right.
Well, the global interpretation is what we use.
Okay.
What is needed globally. And you're trained in that area. And if you come up with a new field, we train people in that new field right away. Because you can't rely on the others. Everybody is updated on what to expect.
That would be one of the interesting values in the resource-based economy, is to know that, you know, when you go through this education and when you do this work, when you do this contribution, you're contributing to the global society, which is
And you
going
know where to go to find the answers. You don't get into conflict with people. There's no debates. There's dialogue. You know the difference? You talk to a person, they talk back. Debate is out to win. We're not out to win. We're out to accomplish a given task with a minimum expenditure of energy and temperament.
And that is the reinforcement, because your standard of living goes up continuously as well. And that you know that you're participating in that. That's the reinforcement.
And even with all that, you might only have to contribute a couple hours a week, if any at all, because only less than 10% of the world population, maybe even closer to 6%, would ever even need to work to sustain such a system. That's the estimates. I don't know exactly how it'll work out.
Even if machines do all the work,
Yeah.
man is still going to do creative work. He's going to look at things, make recommendations, but there'll be people that are specialized in how to make recommendations.
Gotcha. All right, I have a weird question here. Maybe it's not a weird question. I'll go ahead and ask it. It's been asked before. It said, what will happen to the bodies of the deceased in a resource-based economy?
I would have to leave that up to the resource-based economy.
Well, one thing
That's a good point.
I think I
Those
could,
people that are trained in the new social development leave their bodies to science.
but they wouldn't be embalmed and put in the ground, because even today you have embalming fluid that's going in the drinking water of every city because of that, those practices.
And the purpose of embalming food is to allow their skin and to remain for the viewing,
Yeah.
which is, you know, also another discussion altogether, whether that's relevant or not. And then, like you said, it's polluting the underwater ground system, so it's polluting our food, polluting our drinking water, and just so we can preserve our body for a couple of days for a funeral procession.
All the laws will be changed so they become functional.
But you know, all those are really old rituals
Yeah.
to
very-
look at the dead and preserve them, and they, you know, cultures from a long time ago had all those old myths about somebody
I
dying.
wouldn't say the majority can make the switch right away. Those that can't make the switch, they will be taken care of. And we'll keep things as they know them until they have watched enough TVs and radio shows in the future to know the difference.
Taken care of in a
You
sense
can't
of...
shove people
Right.
into the future. You can expose them to it. Those that wish to live in the new cities will.
I got you.
Those that can't, won't.
Makes sense. And then I think it'll become obvious over time.
Yeah.
Efficiency,
Over
higher
time.
standard of living.
Not
those
by
types of things.
military means, torture or imprisonment. There'll be no prisons, no police. Since people have access to the necessities of life, they do not steal.
Right. Keep what works, shed what does not.
Right.
You know, and let the things that don't work, the inefficient things,
Sure.
fall off to the wayside over time. Right. I try to tell people when we talk about this to the public, there's no need to stop or prevent or remove anything. You don't have to use these words. We would just start working on relevant things, and the irrelevant things will fade
Right.
away.
There's only,
They don't use the old telephone anymore, you know, the
there
big
may
black
be
ones.
150 people in an airliner. Only 2 operate the airliner, the navigator and the pilot. The 150 people do not participate in the operation of that airliner. So when you say, what will people do? They sit around in an airliner and they just enjoy the view.
Go along
But
for the
they
ride.
don't have to
And
do
it's not to
anything.
say that they can't participate. Of
They-
course they can. That's it. But they, you know, you got to put in the work.
Well,
ethic.
very few of them would be an airline pilot
Mhm.
that can walk in an emergency. In an emergency, if the pilot has, say, a heart attack, the plane takes over.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we have 2 pilots. Until we have it automated that way, we will use redundancy.
You know,
in
they say,
equipment.
what will people do? Well, most people don't do today what they want to do.
Exactly.
They're really restricted in terms of what they can do financially.
And many
What they
people
have
don't
to do.
even know what they would want to do. They've never been given an opportunity to even think about it. They've
That's
been
right.
told or directed into certain areas in their life.
Even,
Oh my God.
So what you say, in this culture, you don't even dare to dream because of
That's
pain.
they say you live in quiet desperation. Even when you are interested in something when you're younger, you're shoved out of that to do something that makes a living.
Right? Wow. Yeah.
Most people are convinced by the new television systems of the profession they're studying. In other words, their professions that they study will be what's needed at the time. You don't become a plumber in the future when plumbing becomes automated.
Right.
So you can't pick your field. The fields that are available are listed, and you can pick from that list, which are hundreds of different things to do. But that's up to you. If you find it working on human factors being of interest to you, you can look up anything you want to and pick whatever is needed. We don't train people in professions that are not needed, like salespeople. You can get specifications of a product and the durability, whatever you want to know is available, but you don't need a salesman.
How much mental capacity on Earth today is wasted
Oh,
in irrelevant professions or never even come to fruition
Yes.
because of no education or for many
well,
other reasons.
if you took a person from this culture and put them in the future, they'd say, I don't understand this. I don't understand it at all. And that's true. Like I say, if you took your grandmother to Miami Beach and she saw the girls walking around in bikinis, she might say, they've gone too far because of her background. But you understand, it's her background, not that she's stupid, her background. Now, most of those backgrounds will be eliminated in the future by education out of it,
Right.
not
And
order.
that's what the trends show already. The
Yes.
trends are already showing these things.
If you can't make the adjustment, other nations will pass you by.
But they are still teaching so many professions that are just
Obsolete.
pushing money around. Salespeople, insurance people, advertising, bankers, lawyers. There's so many things that people learn that just take advantage of one another. They don't really contribute very much. They're parasites in this system.
Right. I just had a visual of when I was in the military. We used to have to sweep dust in the parking lots all the time. And my thing, it's just ridiculous. That was one of our things. All I was doing was pushing dirt from one place to another.
Instead of the
The earth is covered in
Pentagon,
dirt, so what am I doing here? And that's I liken that to, sorry, Jeff. I liken that to the money. People, they're just pushing it in different areas. That's really all it is.
Shawn, instead of a Pentagon, you have a lot of people that are trained in bridging the difference between nations. The Pentagon would serve as an organization, as an intermediate organization, to bridge the difference between cultures.
There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of soldiers on the planet. If they're retrained from being soldiers into being scientists, engineers, mathematicians, all these things, medical people,
Sure.
how much would
do that
all of our
with
standard of
everyone.
living be higher
Depends
right
on
now?
how many sick
Just by
people.
that alone.
Yeah.
Just by that
You
alone.
get people who get their kicks out of helping one another and learning things and doing something constructive. instead of getting the kicks out
I don't
of
think
eating
that's
somebody.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant it. There were some people. I think everybody, in a
Right,
sense,
that's what I'm
gets that.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what
Shawn,
they
do you
in the
feel there was
future.
any question I didn't answer?
No, no. I was just trying to answer some questions from the community and trying to get
Right.
you to respond to their questions because I think they value that a lot from you, and that's really nice that you're able to do that and to come on the show, obviously.
Is there anything else?
I got one more thing. It's probably more for Joel and Roxanne, and it has to do with their documentary and updates on that. How's it going? You guys raised the money for it.
What documentary?
Yeah, Joel's entire life right now, right? I mean, all the time, all day, every day, working on that thing, and also you, right? And
Yeah.
on top of all the Venus Project management and that type of stuff.
Well,
So.
we both do all that management.
Oh, okay, wow.
You know,
Yeah.
we split that job too, because it's just too much for two people.
Well,
and
you
plus other
often
people
have
are taking
like
it
10
on.
jobs at the same time. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
But the documentary's coming along well.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
we're getting a lot of people, we're getting interviews from people, and Joel's been running
And
around
this
the
wasn't
country.
something that we put in and we had in the original plans, but because we did reach those, the degree of the stretch goals, we decided to do it and spend the money on getting these interviews. And they're we think they'll really enrich the whole,
Right.
the whole film.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
interviews are something we thought of afterwards,
Yeah.
and
You have a
because
question?
we did reach that goal, and so Joel's been running around the country getting the interviews, and we're really having them describe the conditions of society today.
Right.
And
And
then
then
we'll talk about
reinforcing
the
a lot of
future.
the clips he already has too within the film too. That
We
you know,
think
kind of give it a lot more,
one,
lot more weight.
yes, one person is an environmental specialist and how we can transition over to how it's totally possible, and he explains and gives hard data how you could convert the whole United States in 20 years to
Clean
renewable
sources.
resources, no
Yeah.
fossil fuel burning. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Most
That's
people
the
don't
job.
even know what the problems are today. They don't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
But in the future, they will. They'll be shown how our system works. Children will be taken on tours through every industry so they see how things are made and they understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
And they understand different production methods. They understand the meaning of automation.
They start
They don't argue
Early.
about what
solving
will people
problems.
do.
I imagine how people go about what do I want to do with my life, and they have their heroes. They have their sports heroes. They have their superheroes. Their comic book heroes. Their father or mother wants to push them in a certain direction. So the decision they make with their life, their future, and their profession is based on environments. Yeah. And in the future, I imagine a child, a relatively young child, who at least has access to information, says, I want to become an astronaut. And the computer displays the entire path of
Yes.
becoming an astronaut. And that child has much more information almost immediately than our current people today have over a 20-year period. So I think that's going to be an awesome advantage in the future, too.
And they probably wouldn't be aspiring to just one thing,
That too.
because being an astronaut means learning about many, many different things.
Right, and it can branch off very easily into many
Yeah.
other aspects because that's a pretty broad field also.
When they say what will motivate people if they have access to things, just say the end of war, poverty, starvation in the world, arguments between husband and wife, all that will disappear. Fistfights will disappear. The common things that we've been conditioned to want to watch, prize fights, will disappear because it harms the brain of people, not because Fresco doesn't like fights.
But there's really nothing, no time where we reach a plateau where there's no other inquiry. Things will always be changing, and it's like when you get TV, then people start thinking of three-dimensional TV. Or when you get cameras that are computers that are faster, then they get faster and smaller and more efficient and don't heat up.
We haven't even finished exploring Earth yet. We're far from that even. We haven't been to the depths of the ocean. We haven't really explored all aspects of Earth, and that's not even including later on after much in the future where we're dealing with space. That's nearly limitless exploration and endeavors. So
And if they ask more questions, you can write them down.
we'll do.
Remember, the Venus Project is a very different system. That's why you can't use comparisons with today's system.
That's true. That's all the reference that people have at this point, though.
Of course.
Yeah. And that's why when we stress education, it gives a person more tools and more capabilities to understand more things in the abstract.
That's why semantics doesn't mean anything in a monetary system, because it doesn't change the system. You can't exceed the system with language. You can only exceed the system with events, recommended procedures that are better. You can't exceed the system by telling people to be good, be kind, be considerate. You have to take away the conditions that makes it necessary for you to be kind. And to be kind, you design highways that aren't slippery, where no accidents or less accidents occur in the future. Everybody becomes an innovator, a creator.
If you would like to help out the show, donate via PayPal on the main website. Head to thevenusproject.com, click Donate, TVP Education, click on PayPal, and enter your information. Thank you for your support.